Good evening and hello and welcome to the third of the trilogy on cooking in Foodstop. So thus far we've cooked a starter, a hummus tahini, a main course, spaghetti bolognese, vegetarian of course, and finally we shall finish with, this evening, a pièce de résistance, a favourite of mine, some would say my best renowned dish, a chocolate fudge cake, which I will cook this evening. Initially we start off with two baking trays. There we are. I'll put these here. We need to use we need to oil them and cut them and what have you. I shall demonstrate. What we need to do is get some kitchen roll, kitchen roll, and dab it in a bit of oil just to keep everything reasonably non-stick. We need to sort of work oil into the various cake tins. So these are worked through. I shall add the paper and keep these in the correct container. You just like to follow what I'm doing. It doesn't matter if it's not falling through. Just put that over there. Put these through here. There we are, and you can see that it'll keep it reasonably non-stick. The cake ingredients are of course flour, margarine, eggs and cocoa powder. This is an American chocolate fudge cake I'm preparing this evening, and this will finish the trilogy as we said earlier. So I'll get the flour and cocoa as I've said. We initially need to kick off with 12 ounces of, as I said, the measures I'm giving are for two cakes, and I will explain shortly why. We need 12 ounces of self-raising flour. Let's just get the correct measurements. There we go. Just put that on there. There we are. And I'll just... This is a real kitchen, hence pause for a second while I find the sieve. There we are. Just give it a quick shake and get the flour broken down. Give that a shake. Flour to one side. Further, we need 4 ounces of cocoa powder. Decount 4 ounces. I'll just use this fresh amount, and there we go. That's just a bit more. There we go. That's 4 ounces, and we'll sift that through. Now, the smell of the cocoa is quite overpowering. It does intimate the quality of the cake coming through. That's if you're baking or you happen to be a child. So work that through. We then add 2, perhaps 3 teaspoons of baking powder. I'll just get a teaspoon. 4 teaspoons of baking powder. This is my own recipe, but I'm just checking with what I've written earlier. That's 2, 3, and 4. They're the heaps teaspoons. I don't think there's any harm in adding a little bit over the top. The cake can only rise thus far. Let's just give that a good mix. We then proceed to add. This is an occupational hazard in producing a luxurious chocolate fudge cake. Now, in a studio-bound, I like to point out this is a mixer. In a studio-bound, excuse me a minute, one second. That's fine. In a studio-bound cooking programme, you would not have a chef sneezing in such a manner. It's hygienically unsound, but it is a realistic possibility when you're dealing with powders. Now, I wish to introduce some sugar and, firstly, margarine. There must be an easier way of decanting a measure of food, but if you know, please write in. That's fine. Right, we have approximately 12 ounces, give or take 4 ounces. Let's just put that in there, and we'll just mix that in there a little bit. Now, we also need 8 size 3 medium size eggs. I prefer free range because I think it's cruel to keep hens in a confined space, or anybody for that matter. Followed by a couple of teaspoons of vanilla flavouring. Let's give it a... Again, it's rough and ready measures. There we are, that's better. That's a few teaspoons there, just to give it added piquancy. We'll just mix that through. 12 ounces are recommended in terms of sugar. I quite often put perhaps half, maybe 2/3 that amount, and mix that in there. There we are. Now I'm just going to add a bit more water. That seems a bit dry for me. 1 second. Right, we've mixed sufficiently. You can see there's a sort of a glaze over the mix. That is ready to decant into the 4 dishes there. I'll use this implement for that. You can use whatever suits your needs. Now, I'll just move that back over there. We need to decant into these 4 measures here. And by the way, before preparing, I've taken the liberty to put the oven on gas mark 4. I'll put these similar sized trays into the top. Put these lower size ones into the bottom. Whilst the cake is baking, the sponge is baking, we can proceed with the icing. To this grated chocolate, we shall add, you see the grated chocolate, we shall add some whipping cream, mix that through, leave it in the fridge to harden, whilst we make the main icing. Melt the margarine in this non-stick pan, just straight up there. Throw in to the cake mix there. There we are. To this you add just over £1 pound of icing sugar. Unfortunately, this being a real kitchen, we don't have any icing sugar, so I'm going to use normal sugar, and so we'll just leave that to melt. As you can see, we've blended in the 2 pounds of icing sugar into the mix of chocolate and milk and margarine, which is nicely blended in now. We'll take that off the heat, turn the gas down, and leave it to cool to thicken somewhat. Each piece of cake we shall allow to cool 10, maybe 15 minutes, and slice in half. We'll end up with 4 quarters for each cake, and we shall put icing in between 2 sets, and of course the whipping cream, grated chocolate mixture in the middle, and cover with the remainder of the icing cake on top. Now this is little bit crumbly, but that's fine. It doesn't matter. We can we're just rushing a little bit for purposes of cooking. This isn't a reflection of my cooking ability. So that goes on top there. We're just going to slap a little bit more on top, and put that on top there. There we are. Now we need to finish off with the rest of the cake there. You just bear with me. I know it's a bit of a mess, but laugh the crew may. It will slot in. It just seems to be a bit of a jigsaw piece there, but fear not. The skill is in the patchwork. There we are. I'll just put these pieces in there. Now, nothing like a filler, and the filler is, of course, the icing we have here. There we are. I'll just put that on top there, and put a bit more on top there, and a bit more on top there. There we are. And that will certainly get rid of the imperfections that I'm sure are only too visible. Right, now I'm sort of speed rushing this. I would obviously take a greater attention to the cooking, and there you have American chocolate fudge cake. We come now to the end of the trilogy, the 3 parts of Foodstop. I have cooked a starter, hummus, salad base, a main course of vegetarian bolognese on a pasta base, and a pudding, a suite of American chocolate fudge cake. It only goes to show that you can't get what you want, quoting Rolling Stones, but if you try some time you might get what you need. So it remains me to say thank you to the crew for being patient, and I hope you've enjoyed the series, and all the best. Thank you. Bye bye.